Our first album review comes from my first Twitch sub, the Buggerman himself, Higgoms, who asked me to review The Hands That Thieve by ska punk outfit Streetlight Manifesto. So I'm looking into the band and I see that genre and I'm thinking, oh god, Higgoms, what the fuck are you getting me into? Ska punk is not a genre that I normally find myself liking outside of a few gems from bands like Real Big Fish, and even then I really think the genre fails to capture the true essence of punk. But y'all are probably here to hear what I think about this album, so let's get into it. The album opens up hitting me with a raw, I will never defend the men who make amends with any enemy's friends. Lyrically, the song sets me up to expect this to actually be punk ska, with the digs at government and clergymen. Already ticking another box I need to enjoy ska punk is the horns don't really overstay their welcome, and the other instruments don't seem to ever take a backseat fully to the horns, except for places where it really works. And now we get into Ungrateful. The song really reminds me of a harsher They Might Be Giants track, kind of from Apollo 11, just without the accordion, both in lyrics and instrumentation. And I really can't get this song fucking out of my head. I love the bass solo out of nowhere. Really not much to say about this one other than it's pretty great. Now we get into the littlest things. This is the first instance of both of the complaints I have with some of the tracks on this album. The transitioning both lyrically and musically is notably less well done on some tracks than others, but is never really done too poorly, and the sentimentality of the lyrics is sometimes undermined by his vocal style. The first verse kind of falls flat for me because of the whole don't trust anyone, but don't leave the one you love behind dichotomy, but I love the instrumentation and the acoustic breakdown here, even if the transitioning isn't as great as on previous tracks. Just take everything I said about the three of us and add in the best horn interlude so far on this album, some amazing hooks, and even more punk-feeling lyrics. I really love the acoustic break on this track with the group vocals, which brings me to the production of this album. Whoever produced this got the vocal mixing and effects down, and this track is where I first realized that. Let's talk about the percussion on this album. This album keeps doing a thing where every few tracks I'm like, damn, this one thing has been really amazing this album, but this track really brought that to my attention. This track, with any sort of certainty, really woke me up to how tight the percussion on this album is. I'm not sure if it's because of the percussion or how creative the saxophones, yes plural, get on this track, but this track is my favorite on the album. I really like the sentiment of the lyrics, and I love the instrumentation of this whole track, but I'm really not a fan of the dichotomy of the aggressive punk vocals with the heartfelt message. It comes across as mildly sarcastic, somewhat ruining that message for me. Luckily, the pre-chorus and chorus really hold up this song. I love this track. This is the only sentimental song on the album that 100% works for me. The subtle genre hopping on this track is done super well, with probably the best transitioning on the whole album. I like a lot of what Streetlight Manifesto tries on this track. I love the instrumental interlude there, I like the refrain, but the chorus and everything before said interlude are really generic in my eyes, making this one of the weakest tracks on the album, despite how much I want to like it. I enjoy this song. Everything but the lead vocals are a throwback to music I was really into a few interest phases back. Somewhere in between a Tim DeLauder project and Post Pretty Odd, pre-death of a Bachelor Panic at the Disco. And the lead vocals being different than those projects adds a freshness to something that would otherwise be very samey. This is a track that really brings the second half of this album back up. Your Day Will Come. I like every part of this song on its own quite a bit, from the funky acoustic guitars to the sax-heavy electric segment, but the transitioning from the acoustic segment is probably the roughest on all of the tracks on this album, really detracting more from this track than I wish it did. That being said, this track is still one I can really enjoy. This album is a gem in a genre I'm really not a fan of. Despite transition and tone consistency issues that really leave the album front heavy, I hold it in high regard. I love the instrumentation and the horns really work for me, and they usually don't for a large majority of any type of ska. I give it a strong 7 out of 10, with my favorite tracks being, not in any particular order, with any sort of certainty, The Hands That Thieve, Ungrateful, The Three of Us, and They Broke Him Down, and my least favorite being Toe to Toe. Thank you, Higgoms, for the sub. Keep on bugga-bugging.